Whenever you're ready, Kim.
Hello, everyone. We're going to get started. We're going to open our meeting tonight. Tonight is a Joint Education and Youth Services Committee. I'm going to read the Board of Alders notice. The Joint Education Youth Committee of the Board of Alders will meet on Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 at 6 p.m. via video conference at https://bit.ly/3CNLETF and by phone at 646-558-8656, webinar ID 986-7559-3007 to hold the following workshops. For required password, contact public testimony at newhavenct.gov. Workshop with the Youth and Recreation Department to review available camps and programs for city youth. Workshop with the New Haven Public Schools regarding resources available for parents and students in respect to the coronavirus pandemic and summer programs. Per order, Honorable Jody Ortiz, co-chair, and Honorable Kimberly Edwards, co-chair. Attest, Honorable Michael Smart, city clerk. These items are on file and available in the office of the city clerk, room 202 at 200 Orange Street, New Haven, Connecticut, 06510. For accessibility related accommodations, please call 203-946-7833 voice or 203-946-8582 TTY-TDD. Public comment or testimony may also be submitted via email to publictestimony@newhavenct.gov before 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting. If you wish to present testimony at the meeting, you must register in advance at https://bit.ly/3CNLETF or by calling 203-946-7934 or emailing publictestimony@newhavenct.gov before 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting for the required password. The public can view the meeting at https://bit.ly/3CNLETF or listen by phone at 646-558-8656, webinar ID 986-7559-3007. The password to listen by phone only is 960-563-548. And once again, good evening and welcome to our joint committee meeting. We're going to start off by introducing ourselves, and I would like the committee members to also introduce themselves and please state which committee you are part of. So I'm going to start it off and then I'm going to go to Alder Jody Ortiz, my co-chair, and then you take it from there. So I am Alder Kimberly Edwards and I am chair of our Youth Services Committee.
Alder Wingate Youth Committee. Madam Chair, I don't think they was able to hear Alder Jody Ortiz.
Thank you, Alder Wingate. Alder Ortiz. We cannot hear you. So we're going to move on to the next person for introduction, and then we'll come back around to you. And if you need to log off and log back on, make sure you do that as well.
Alder Carmen Rodriguez, Ward 6. I'm on the Youth Committee as well as the Education Committee.
Alder Ortiz, can you hear me? Okay, great. Chair of the Education Committee, Ward 17, and also sit on the Youth Committee. Thank you.
Alder Smith.
I'm sorry, Alder Honda Smith, Ward 30, Youth Committee.
All right, thank you very much. I would also like to acknowledge some of the other alders that are here with us tonight that have not been introduced. We have Alder Eli Sabin and Alder Steve Winter. And thank you for joining us tonight. So we are going to begin our workshop. It should be an interesting workshop tonight, and we'll get a lot of great information out there. So we read the notice, so we're gonna start our youth services workshop, so you can let our participants in the room at this time.
Madam Chair, Steve Winter, Ward 21. I'm on the Education Committee as well.
Thank you, Alder Winter.
And Madam Chair, I am on the Education Committee representing Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next time, don't let me speak for you. So we definitely have a quorum, and we got some great people here tonight. And we're going to begin. I see everyone coming in the room now. So what we are going to start with, we're going to start with our Youth Services Department. We have a whole host of people here. We'll start with them. What I ask everyone is to please remember to state your name and address before you start speaking. And whoever wants to start off, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tommy Veal, 310 Gough Street, New Haven, Connecticut. I am the Youth at Work Program Coordinator. Along with me is also Ms. Erica Blake, who will introduce herself and her address.
Erica Blake, 769 Mix Avenue, Hamden, Connecticut.
So Erica and I are gearing up for the Youth at Work Summer 2021 program. This is an interesting time since we are transitioning from a hectic past summer, having to deal with all the restrictions of COVID, and kind of moving forward with some optimism that we will have children and work sites all geared up, ready to go. And Erica is new. This is going to be her first summer as the program manager for Youth at Work. So she is actually going to be the one to share the information regarding just our updates.
So the summer employment program will be running from July 6th to July 30th. We have about 325 applications to date. Housing Authority has partnered with us to employ 35 of our youth that they will fund. Yale New Haven Hospital has partnered, Yale New Haven Health has partnered with us to employ roughly 10 youth that they will fund through their Allied Health program. We have about 57 nonprofit agencies who will join Youth at Work, and we're providing about 66 work sites for our young people. We have about 7 new agencies. To list them, we have Bereavement Care Network, Booker T. Washington Academy, Helping Our People to Excel Incorporated, Impacting Our Youth, Inspired Communities Incorporated, and Community Action Agency of New Haven, including the Mickey Barrett Scholarship Foundation. Those are updates in regards to our Youth at Work program right now.
One non-summer related topic that we would like to share, and that we hope we have the support of those that are on this call in the community, the New Haven community as well, is that we will also be, we have published a book award through the Youth and Recreation Department. And that application is going to be due on April 23rd. And so if you know of any young person, you can please direct them to the website. We will send you the link tomorrow to everyone that's on this call. So I will get everyone's email address and make sure that I email out the link to the website as well as the application. And an ad hoc committee has been formed, and our co-chair, our chairs, excuse me, will actually be on the committee along with members from the Youth Commission, and staff people, Erica and myself will be spearheading that. And so we look forward to just getting these applications in from our students and making sure that we can provide them with some type of financial support as they enter into higher education. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for committee members at this point on the issues that have already been touched on? Okay. Any questions from anyone? I do have one question. Out of the 325 applications, how many jobs are actually going to be funded between your partnerships with the other organizations and any other funds?
Quickly, I just need to calculate that in my brain. And so we were looking to place roughly 300, and Erica, please correct me. We are looking to roughly place 350 students through the summer. So it is our hope that we will be able to potentially receive additional dollars through fundraising efforts and donations, with the hope that maybe we can place the students, all the students that have applied this summer. Applications are still coming in. We also received some, well, we're anticipating receiving dollars from DCF as well. And so those should also help to cover some of the positions that we have.
Thank you. And do you have any site information at this point? Like how many sites are going to be open? Not necessarily for just our programming, but period for our people?
So we have partnered with 57 agencies. However, some of those agencies are still waiting to hear from the Board of Education regarding space. And so some of them, unfortunately, are still like a little in limbo, but that also comes from a multitude of things. So whether the space is available at the location they would like to be at, and or whether or not they have the proper licensure to continue with the program. But in terms of the RFPs that we have received placement at 66 sites. And so that number can fluctuate depending upon the space. Right now was the only thing that came up as a barrier.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions regarding Youth at Work in the summer program?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have a question. Thank you. So I heard that you're going to, there are 25 students and then an additional 10. The 25 are coming, who's going to sponsor those 25? I didn't catch that.
It's an additional 35 that will be sponsored by Housing Authority. So the Elm City Communities.
Okay, perfect. And Elm City Communities is sponsoring them. What areas of the city are these youth coming from? Are they spread across the city so that many of our youth can get an opportunity to be part of the working?
Are you referring to the 35 from Housing Authority specifically?
Yeah, the additional 35. Are they coming from all the areas?
So Housing Authority works with their community resource providers. So from what I gathered, there's roughly 5 communities and that they have reached out to, but they're all through the housing developments. So I can get the names of those developments specifically because I do know that they ask their staff people to get children to complete applications from their communities. And I do know that that can vary. So we're still inputting that information. Their applications are due after our Youth at Work deadline, just because they are funded through Housing Authority. So the different standards regarding like us having to submit our applications to the state is just a little different. So, but we should have that. It's just a matter of us filtering out that information. And so we can get that to you by the beginning of next week.
Okay, if we can, through the chair, I would greatly appreciate that. I know when we were on this call, Madam Chair, if I can ask another question. I know that when we were, last year, it feels like so long ago, when we were talking about the Youth at Work program, one of my questions was that I wanted to make sure that, yes, we have a lot of youth that yet use the program every year, but to give an opportunity to those who have not been part of, have had an opportunity to be part of the hiring process. Because there are times that some of the kids feel like I put an application in and then I wasn't accepted. So, I'm just looking to see, it's awesome that we have youth that return, but also to have, new folks on the front so that they can get a feel for what it is to earn a little bit of money in the summer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, absolutely. And we'll certainly be able. My neighborhood's a little vibrant. Also, what we also do with our applications, we also have it identified by ward. So we will be able to, once all the applications are entered, we'll also be able to filter out how many applications we receive by ward as well.
Thank you so much for that info.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Alder Honda Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one question. Ms. Veal, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, all of Housing Authority funds have to be filtered through to the Housing Authority resident children based on their federal funding. Is that true or not?
If I'm can you repeat your question?
Yes, my question is, being that Housing Authority is sponsoring 35 children from out of their developments, that these kids have to come from their developments because that's their federal dollars. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Thank you, Ms. Veal.
You're welcome, Alder.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Alder Wingate? No? Okay.
Not at this time.
Thank you. As I would like to ask a question about programs. Do you have the programs all lined up? I know you're waiting for some partners, as you said, and we usually do that pretty book that comes out. You guys collaborate with all the camps that are going to be in session. Is that not your department, or do we know when that's gonna loop around, or we got deadlines or timelines on that kind of stuff?
On behalf of the Youth and Recreation team, we are looking to publish our Mayor's Summer Guide, hopefully with the release date of this Friday. We are waiting for some of our agencies to respond to our request. And that Mayor's Summer Youth Guide essentially allows families to be able to find programs available to their young children outside of employment, but actually participate in the varying programs. In addition to the summer guide coming out, and Ron Huggins is the person that spearheads that. We also have our recreation team led by Felicia Shashinka, who will be working on the recreation side to actually have 22 programs come out of that side of the program.
Thank you. And Alder Wingate.
I do have a question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Tommy, for all the work that you've been doing in your team. I'm such a fan of how you've been moving this stuff along. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
So it sounds like everybody's hands is in the pot, trying to help out, understanding what the cause is for our youth this summer, going through the pandemic. Have there been any nonprofits that you've been having trouble with or trying to incorporate that you think this board can send a letter to, or some kind of assistance to try to get more financial resources for the particular youth department?
To be honest, I feel like we've had a pretty open relationship and great communication with the nonprofits that we have partnered with. And I cannot say that anyone has openly discussed like a financial hardship in terms of having to close their doors or limit their programs. Many of the nonprofits have gotten very creative in the programming that they're doing, but I can't speak to any financial need. I would say that we have one program that we partnered with over the years that will not be running a summer program. I don't think it's due to finances. I think it's just due to a programmatic structure, and that is New Haven Reads. Other agencies
Oh, yeah.
have not publicly stated, or it hasn't even alluded to needing any type of financial assistance.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, well, I guess this would be to the Board of Education, but we'll wait till they time. But thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Wingate. I would also like to acknowledge our Education Vice Chair is present, Alder Brackeen, and I did not acknowledge our third officer, Alder Sal DeCola. So I would like to do that at this time. Any other questions? Now, I have a question about the book award. And I know you said you're going to send us an email so we can share that, get all that information out there. In the past, how has your response been to your book award? Do you get a good amount of students? I know you said you were trying to, make sure it was highly publicized this year, so people know they have other opportunities to get.
So we are approaching our second year. So this is our second time publishing the book award. Last year, no, it was pretty low in response. I mean, we received, I think, 10 to 11 young people, and the only upside to that report was that everyone who applied was able to receive an award. However, while I don't like for young people to have to compete for dollars, I certainly would love to be able to have more, more applications come in that allows us to be able to give out more dollars. But this will just be our second year, and we are certainly still working out the kinks because our platforms are certainly different than other people. And so, the means that we have in terms of like our social media or our webpage, that's what we rely on. And then we do rely on like word of mouth and people sharing. But our book award also got published very close to our Youth at Work application. And I think a lot of people may have just bypassed the book award at that time. And so like these next few weeks, we'll be able to put more of a focus on the book award actually being due. And the application is not extensive. It does require recommendations, and it does, just require that the students respond to an essay. But we may have to consider extending that deadline just because of the timing, and also recognizing that kids were focused on getting their summer employment application in. But that is also something that I will be bringing to the ad hoc committee just before making it an extension.
Okay, thank you. As far as programming, I know we talked about summer program. Are you still doing the spring vacation camp? And if yes, are there slots still available?
I'm so sorry. Would you be able to repeat that?
I was told you were possibly doing a spring vacation camp.
Yes, Recreation will be hosting a spring vacation camp, and that information is available. I would just need to be able to send that information to you tomorrow as well. There's like a flyer and a registration form that I'll be able to send out to the committee.
Okay, so you do still have slots available for that camp as well?
I believe so, but I honestly cannot confirm that.
All right, thank you very, very much. Do we have questions? Any other questions for our Youth at Work crew? No, not at this time. Hey, we're moving right along then. We're moving right along.
Thank you so much, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you for being here with us. We will get everything forwarded. You can send it to Mr. Lucas, please, all that information, and we'll get it disseminated. We'll get it put out there, and we'll get the word out. And as usual, we thank you for the work that you do in our city.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Alders.
Much needed and much appreciated.
Thank you. We appreciate you as well. May Erica and I be excused at this time.
Yes, of course.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to keep this moving right along since it's a workshop. We're gonna move right along. I'm gonna hand it over to Alder Ortiz. And we're just gonna keep this moving right along, get this information pumping. And Alder Ortiz, we're gonna go into the education piece.
Yes, Director Gemma Joseph Lumpkin, would you like to present?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman Ortiz, Madam Chairwoman Edwards. Thank you very much for inviting us. Vice Chair Brakeem and Officer DeCola and the rest of the officers, on behalf of Dr. Eileen Tracy, our superintendent, we are grateful for the invitation, and we thank you for allowing us to present this evening. I'd like to, first of all, my name is Gemma Joseph Lumpkin. I am Chief of Youth, Family, and Community Engagement. I live at 72 Sheffield Avenue in New Haven, Connecticut. I have colleagues with me who will introduce themselves. I will start with Kermit Carolina, who is our supervisor for youth development.
Good evening. Good evening, all. How are you? Kermit Carolina, Supervisor of Youth Development and Engagement. Good to see all of your faces and good to be seen. So I'll say what's up to my brothers and sisters that I definitely know. And you guys know who I'm talking about, to all of you.
And Kermit, can you please present to your address, please, for the record?
85 Hemlock Road, New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you, Kermit. Daniel Diaz, our coordinator, I almost call him director, or coordinator for parent engagement.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Daniel Diaz. Buenas noches. I live at 65 Pope Street in New Haven, Connecticut. I am the coordinator of parent engagement, and I am also the McKinney-Vento liaison for all New Haven Public Schools students under homeless to the state. So thank you for allowing us to do this presentation.
Thank you, Danny. And Lizy Rodriguez, who is our program administrator for our family resource centers. And we need you to unmute, please.
Sorry, excuse me. My name is Lizy Rodriguez. I am the program administrator for the Family Resource Centers in New Haven. Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight.
And if you can give your address for the record, please.
My address is 11 Uriah Street, New Haven, Connecticut, 06512.
And finally, with us as well this evening is Mrs. Sergio Rodriguez, who is our McKinney-Vento foster family consultant.
Good evening, committee co-chairs and honorable committee members. Nice to be with you tonight. Sergio Rodriguez, I live at 142 Judwin Avenue.
Thank you.
And a special hello to my elder, Daryl Burkey.
Thank you, Sergio. And if I may, Alder Ortiz, Alder Edwards, we would like to be able to share screen.
That would be fine. Go right ahead.
Thank you. We will wait for the host to enable us to do that.
One moment.
And while we're waiting, I would like to acknowledge our president, Alder Walker Myers, is present, and she is also co-chair of the Youth Services Committee.
You should be, one moment, you'll be able to share.
Thank you. Can you see screen?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I will go to the slideshow now. And we'll start from the beginning. And so tonight we're going to talk about supporting students and families. And we're also going to talk about the launch of NHBS Summer of Fun 2021. And we are definitely using that language of fun because we all need a little bit of it, having been housed up for almost a year now. So I've introduced the folks who are with me this evening, so I will skip right over this slide and talk a little bit about what is a major issue for us. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the data. want to let you know what we look at on a daily basis. As you can see in this data, from 2014-15, when we intensively started this work, we were at an extremely high rate. Almost 1 in 4 students were chronically absent. We did a lot of work to reduce that over the years. And then, as you will see in 2020, 1920, and 2021, you can see the numbers went skyrocketing back into that red zone. We have been looking very closely at how the progress that we have made since we opened school in September. So you will see that from October, we started at a very scary rate at 43.4%. We've worked diligently to reduce that number to 30.6. Certainly not an acceptable number, nowhere near where we need to be, but the realities of the pandemic has impacted our students and families in a way that has affected their attendance in school. And here you will see a breakdown by grade level on kindergarten to 8th grade. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, the last number where it says CA, it would show the percentage of kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th through 8th grade students who are chronically absent. There's no good news here, but we are certainly concerned about those early grades, kindergarten and 1st grade, because we know of the devastating impact of chronic absenteeism that can have on students who are chronically absent in those early grades. And this table shows the 9th to 12th grade level of chronic absenteeism. And here you will see the numbers at 9th and 10th grade, astronomically high, certainly not much better in the 11th and 12th grade. And so what are the experiences of our students? As you may know, we are out knocking on doors and visiting families, even at the height of the pandemic when we were in a statewide shutdown. We masked up with PPEs and headed out into the community to connect with our students and find out what's going on. And, you know, we think that Attendance Works, which is a national authority on chronic absenteeism, whom we look to for research and support, put it in words that made sense for what we saw. The pandemic has exposed the harsh reality that many students and families are living paycheck to paycheck with limited access to sufficient food, stable housing or healthcare, and no savings to fall back on after a sudden loss in income. Distance learning also shines a spotlight on the many families who don't own a computer or lack quality internet service, so children can benefit from virtual learning. The disproportionate impact of the coronavirus on Black, Latinx, and Native American communities illustrate the long-term health effects of unequal access due to racism. So how are we responding as a district? We've seen all this data. What are we doing about it? We've applied our common sense, the intelligence that we have within our community that we know that's happening with our families and our students, and the intelligence that we're gathering from our school teams. We use the CSD framework and guidance on family and community engagement, and we use research-based practices from places like Attendance Works, which is a national authority on chronic absence, and I discussed one of the quotes from them earlier. And what that work looked like falls within this frame, starting with the pre-close of schools, where our team met immediately when we saw what was happening nationally and even around us. Our team met to say, in the event that we closed schools, who are the students that we need to have our eyes on? And we prepared a pre-closure plan that at that time we focused on 3,700 students who, due to a variety of issues, we knew would be at most risk. We designed a calling plan. We received training on telephonic support, something that we hadn't done a lot of. We are really hands-on, visit students, deal with students and families face-to-face. So we had to retrain on how to work with students in a telephonic manner. Once we decided to close, we continuously monitored the absenteeism and worked to communicate with families on a regular basis. And then as the closure continued, we deepened our outreach and our approach to connecting with families. We figured out which families needed foods, shelter, other supports, ensure that our families were able to connect to learning, made sure that we were able to link those, provide those needs to those students. Using our data, we targeted our students who are greatest needs, including our special ed students. And in a moment, we'll talk a little bit more detail about what some of that work looks like. So here it is. The attendance, our district attendance team looked at the data that I just presented to you from a district-wide perspective. Our school-based attendance teams honed in on their own attendance and lots of home visits. We've launched community canvassing where we hit, we hit the streets and connected with families, reached out to our community service and care coordination supports and other supports. And I'd like to invite Danny Diaz and Sergio Rodriguez to talk about the work we've been doing around homeless students and students in foster care.
Thank you. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we knew that there were going to be families in need of many resources. The first thing that we did was that we asked for an updated list of all the students who were listed under homeless. We had already trained a lot of our staff, and we just finished another training section this year as well. But at the beginning, that's what we did. We started doing the survey. We asked all the families what their needs were. Sergio and I actually worked with a lot of our community collaborators. We noticed that at the beginning, as we all knew, the problem was connection, specifically with families who were under homeless. They had no connection, and also because they were moving from location to location, they needed some type of device that they can bring with them. We teamed up with Sprint, who donated 140 devices of Wi-Fi that they could be portable. We also made sure that the students had computers, laptops, or the Chromebooks that they needed. And Sergio actually visited many of the families, dropped the devices at their homes, at the hotels, at the shelters to make sure that they could connect to our online education. We also partner with the different organizations like Christian Community, Junta, Casa Otoñal, and Hope House to make sure that those families also had a place that we not only provided them with a voucher, which we got donated from different organizations, but we also provided them with consistency and continuous food if they need it. Many families not only suffer from homelessness, but they also suffer from COVID. So we actually make sure that they were taken care of. We made phone calls on a weekly basis. The district also, not only for those families, established an info line where families could call if they were in need of anything. Many of the families who did not have transportation, we set up delivery services through volunteers to make sure that they all received food. It was not the easiest thing to do because, we were dealing with a pandemic, also with homelessness. The sad point was that at the beginning of the school year, we noticed that many of our students were not, we went from 500 to approximately 200 homeless students. And then we found out that the reason is because one of the ways that we identify homelessness is because of the need of transportation. When students apply for school, they need to reveal where they live, of course, and we need to transport them from one location to another one. As we started opening the schools, we have noticed that the numbers are starting to increase, and we're already close to 400 students listed under homeless. Homelessness, as everybody knows, it comes in different ways. It's not just living on the streets. We're also working with Youth Continuum. We're also working with our partners at the state to make sure that this community is we provide them with equity in the services that we provide to every student in New Haven. We also have provided them with codes. We work with Arte Inc. that donated approximately $15,000 in vouchers or gift certificates, which we not only have been giving them to homeless families, but also to families in need. Although the group that I'm talking about is homeless families, our department has worked with every family in need. We have brought food to everybody. And I just want Sergio, because Sergio has really been in the forefront of delivering a lot of these goods to the families. And also Sergio's been working with DCF students and also foster students. Sergio, please.
Well, Danny's covered, quite a bit. He's very good at covering quite a bit of information, providing the information that most folks really need. I mean, for me, the most critical thing is the vulnerability that our families are facing on the outside at home. I found that to be really the most challenging. I mean, having to go out to deal with families, to be able to give them the things that they need to continue to stay engaged. And it's been quite a challenge. The pandemic is still running, even though we got vaccines going on, it's still out there. I mean, and I'll share a quick story with you. About 2 weeks ago, I visited a family to give them some food and some vouchers, and 13 members of that family were all COVID positive. So it's out there. It's still a real challenge. And I think that one of the things that really makes us work well is a creativity that we have in this team to be able to find the resources that we need in a very resource poor time. There aren't a lot of resources out there right now, but to be able to draw in, and I think it's more than $15,000 in vouchers that we've been able to get donated to us to be able to help these families. That's probably around $25,000 in vouchers that we've been able to get donated during this pandemic period as up to date, along with the coats and the clothing and the sneakers and all the other items that come to us that, that people are giving of themselves to give to us. So I think that's a critical piece that this team does extremely well. I'm proud to be on it and proud to be able to work with everybody to do this. And the service for homeless folks is, I think, as Danny said, for those kids who are homeless and families who are homeless, are the same as we do for those kids who are in foster care and working with DCF. We try to develop a very strong relationship with DCF so that when things come up related to mandated reporting or having to call the call line for them, we're able to do that. To have that relationship with them, to be able to share that information and make them aware of what's going on, so those families don't get missed.
Thank you, Sergio. Also, the district really early on, we established an info line, a line where parents could call throughout the district if they needed anything. And within 24 hours, it usually happened within an hour, somebody will call them back, ask them what they needed, and then we will connect them with services. So we will deliver them. In the case of a lot of the elderly, the grandparents who are in need and they cannot leave their home for one reason or the other, we always deliver the stuff to them. Computers for the grandkids, Wi-Fi for the grandkids, connecting them. We also established a homework help hotline to support students who are having academic difficulty with Yale University. And we also established a tutorial service for students who needed more help and more time to spend in helping them succeed academically and socially with Southern Connecticut State University. The district also established a technical help. As you all know, even myself, COVID actually helped us in becoming more technical, and many of our families needed help and support in signing on or changing their password. We developed a technology line where families could actually call, and they can call now to get support in getting technology support so that they can support their children. The work, like Sergio says, COVID continues. We still have to deal with a lot of the issues that are coming out as a result of COVID-19. It is not the end. The resources are needed. We will need it because I think now as students get back to school, I think now we're really starting to see, right? As families start to lose their homes, Now we're going to start to see the result of what has happened during the last year. Now we're going to starting to unveil the seriousness of homelessness in our community. So, and it just shows that within the, literally today, between yesterday and today, we coded, I think, at least 10 students as homeless. So that just shows that as we get back more into school, those numbers are going to continue. Just to close, we also met with the commissioner on
the Homeless Advisory Commission.
Homeless Advisory Commission. We also met with them. So I just wanted to make sure that, because we met with the city as well, to see how we can share and support each other in providing services, not just to our students, but also to other homeless individuals that are out there and don't have children in New Haven. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny, for your comprehensive report. And Lisi Rodriguez, who manages our family resource centers, can speak to how those family resource centers are supporting families. Lisi?
The family resource centers, we support the families mainly, primarily, we service the birth through 5. And that's a very important group, because as Gemma showed you in the chronic absenteeism chart, it starts from an early age. And if we could get the parents educated from an early age on how they have to continue, support their children in routines and in school, they will do better in the other grades. In the family resource centers, our focus is to educate the parents and to make them aware of the developmental stages of their children from birth through 5, meaning they will learn about the developmental domains, which is the gross motors, their cognitive, intellectual, language, social development, social emotional. We offer workshops, monthly workshops, virtually. And through those workshops, we have presenters that we could present any kind of workshop that will deal with any of those domains for the families. We work with them on continuing on routines with their children, especially now with the COVID. It's very hard. It's been very demanding on the parents. They don't know what to do with these little ones, being a lot of them were in pre-K, but then they're not in pre-K, now they're home. Parents don't know what to do with them. So we are there to support them and to give them the education, to educate them on how to work with their children from home. And so once they're back into the pre-K, they are more familiar and are still within the schedule and the routine that they had before, prior to COVID. Within the family resource centers, we also continue on home visits. We do home visits to all of our families. In the home visits, we have wellness checkups. Within those wellness checkups through COVID, we have found a lot of families that have had emergencies, that if we had not knocked on their doors, if we had not made that phone call, it could have been fatal. And through the whole YFCE department, we have connected together in providing, like Danny and Sergio said, with clothing, with food, with vouchers. And we have served, I want to say, pretty much a lot of the whole entire community in New Haven. We have offered all sorts of resources, whether it was what you could look in on the computer to give them more programs for their children that they could do with their children at home. We have offered programming for social development for their students, for themselves, that they are connected to Clifford Beers, that they could go and give them a call with the care coordination. It's an array of services. Through the family research centers, we connect with the schools. Therefore, we also work with the principals, with the staff, with the social workers, with the guidance counselors, with everyone. And through that, in a group, even with the chronic absenteeism, we participate as well in that team. So we are there making phone calls and available to whatever the needs that the families may have. I don't know what else to say. The Danny as well as Gemma, and I know that this is more than enough. I know that I think that, you know, we're speaking to the choir. We don't have to say much more because it is known that through YFCE, we touch lives. We touch lives from birth through high school, through the elderly. It doesn't matter what age. We serve them all.
Thank you, Lisi, and
Lisi.
appreciate your detailed response. One of the areas that we also spend a lot of time is our most at-risk youth, the youth who are either currently touching the juvenile justice system or are in, they are at risk for touching the juvenile justice system. And I know that Kermit is doing a lot of that work, and I would ask Madam Chairperson to allow Kermit to talk a little bit about how we are working with that. And he does need to share screen. I have removed my shared screen. I think if we can please allow Kermit to share the work that we're doing with the highest needs students. Thank you.
Kermit, you'll be allowed to share the screen.
Okay, great. All right, beautiful. Okay. A sec, guys. Okay, here we go. So I want to say thank you again to Madam Chair, to our President, Board President, Ms. Walker Myers, and all others on this call. And I'm going to make this short and sweet and to the point, but I thought that the PowerPoint would really begin to give you an idea of some of the work that we're doing. So as Gemma pointed out, you know, Youth Connect, which is the next generation of youth stat, is a school-based intervention program that seeks to improve the school engagement, academic performance, reduce justice involvement, and improve health and wellness outcomes for our most vulnerable city youth. You know, and I think Danny kind of touched on this a little bit, which is, as you guys know, the pandemic has brought out the worst, the best and the worst in some of our kids, right? It's brought the best in the sense that they've shown some resiliency academically, socially, emotionally, and many kids have done very well despite the pandemic. And then we have a small population of kids who really it's brought some of the worst out, and you know, and they need our support. And a lot of that has to do with the food insecurities and other issues that Sergio and Danny laid out. So under normal circumstances, these are the criteria that we work from. I don't have to read this to you. You can see it yourselves for participation of kids that we're looking for. You know, we've made major improvements, you know, to Youth Connect based on our former work with Youth Stat. One of the main things we did was we really wanted to put laser-like focus on our three major high schools, Wilbur Cross, Hill House, and Riverside, because as many of you know who are New Haven, you know, who've been around for a long time, you know that as those schools go, so does the district. And, you know, we've been working with the Youth Services Department, Gwen Bush-Williams and Ron Huggins in particular, Gemma and I, and we've had extensive conversations about how to improve and enhance Youth Connect. One of the things is to make sure the resources are specifically committed to this group, that we organize our partners in a more effective way, which you'll see in a minute, that we increase social emotional supports, and that our meetings are now all virtual, which reduces the amount of time that we're sitting in meetings. And now, because normally you'd be trying to find a park it'd take you forever to get settled into a meeting and move from building to building. Now it's one meeting, and which is great at each level. And electronic signings and virtual reentry circles for those who are returning from incarceration. So I'll talk about that as I move on. Here's the difference in the way that we approach this. If you look at the different tiers, at the green, the tier 1 level, these are students who are, are low risk, but they're dealing with issues at a low level. Poor attendance, poor behavior, or poor academics in school. Most of that is addressed by the school-based staff, school psychologists, social workers, guidance counselors, you name it in the building, they're addressing that issue. When we reach the tier 2 level, we're talking about those who have dealt with some form of trauma, or overage or undercredited, chronically absent, and we're really reaching out at that point outside of the building for supports. And then at the tier 3 level, which is what I'm kind of about to allude to when I talk about in a minute, is the neighborhood conflict, gang affiliation, and reentry and court involvement of kids. If you look at our approach, you will see that at the tier 1 level, as I mentioned earlier, I know Gemma has been big in pushing the district on restore and reconnect supports, where we provide social emotional supports to our students at every level. This has been very effective. It was effective during the summer program we ran last year. And our dropout prevention staff has been very involved in that, and our school support staff teams, as I mentioned. When you reach tier 2, you can see the caution kind of in yellow or orange, if you will, or some mix in between that. Our referral agencies have been a key factor in supporting us. One thing that Gemma and I really made a concerted effort to do during the summer was to try to find as many community partners as possible to support the work and the things that we're trying to do as a city. And you can see a few of those referral agencies at the bottom listed below, but you also see DCF, the Department of Children and Family Services, and we've got school support staff connected to this as well. When you reach the tier 3 level, which is in red, the New Haven Police Department, the Connecticut Violence Intervention Program, better known as Street Outreach, and our juvenile probation and parole have played a major role. The difference is these are separate meetings. No longer is everyone sitting in the same meeting listening to, issues that don't pertain to them. So at the school low level, we wouldn't have the police department involved in a low level tier 1 meeting, or involved in a tier 2 meeting. They would just be involved in the tier 3 meeting. And the opposite might be the case for DCF, where we may not want them in a tier 3 meeting. We want to make good use of their time. Some of the last slide here, guys. Some of the supports that we try to provide at the tier 2 and tier 3 levels. We really student-led conferences and particularly now the students are coming back to school. This is going to increase the student-led conferences by them that tells us what kind of things they need to be successful and supporting them with that. Gemma has been working in communication with the New Haven Promise program to talk about peer tutoring. I know Gwen would like to begin hiring some of our higher achieving students in the high schools, particularly Hill House and Wilbercross, and use them as mentors to work with some of our students who are struggling to improve their attendance. Mentorship, we've been working with the Governor's Prevention Partnership. I know Gemma was able to secure a mentorship portal, which Hill House now has, meaning that if there's a need for a kid at Hill House who needs a tutor, they simply tap into the Governor's Prevention Partnership portal to get a mentor. We're looking to expand that as we move forward, but Hill House is the first pilot program. And as you see, I don't have to read the rest of it to you, it gives you an idea. Last but not least, if you look, many of our kids need assistance with employment. As much as we want education to be the first priority for a lot of these kids and families, the reality is that the pandemic and life has made food insecurity, addressing issues like that, and their rent, as Danny Diaz pointed out, making sure that they have a place to stay, that has become the priority first. And we see that many of our families have made that the priority. Our students have made it the priority. They've started working, or they're doing some illegal things that they think they need to do to address that. And then last but not least, our career exploration piece is a major piece of this work. So, I could go on, but I can tell you that the collaboration has been outstanding up to this point. We've been very thankful to all of our providers. So with that being said, I'm going to pass. Oh, one other thing I want to say is that another issue that that's really a challenge is the fact that our 8th graders who just recently graduated have not technically been in a building. In fact, Monday may have been the first day that they connected with an adult at the high school level. So they never saw their high school principal or teachers. And as you guys know, the relationship with that is so important. So we're really excited about the fact that kids are back in school, and we're looking to increase that. So Jim, I'm going to pass it back over to you. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Kermit. Thank you for that detailed report. I believe I'm sharing my screen again. We have, while Wexler is an example of pulling together all of our resources to support one school that is facing real challenges with attendance. We've secured a grant from United Way to help us engage more community partners to meet on Wednesdays. WOW means walk on Wednesdays, and we get out there and we knock on those doors and we try to find those extremely chronically absent students who are not responding to our phone calls or other contacts. So Walk on Wednesdays it's going to be expanded to other programs in other schools, but we were able to start an excellent pilot at Wexler Grant. I'm going to skip through some of this and just try to talk about the summer because I know that's on your agenda. So we are excited to launch NHPS Summer of Fun 2021. And some of the programs that we're going to do, leveraging our ESSA 2 grant, would be to expand our summer camps, known as summer school. Formerly, we're calling them all summer camps, from 6 sites to 12 school sites, to expand the time from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. That was the pre-COVID time. Those summer camps will be run from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in collaboration with our city youth and our recreation department to support students and families during the day. This is going to be a tremendous support, especially to families who are working during the summer when they would drop their kids off at 8 o'clock and have to figure out what to do after 12 o'clock. We're now able to add that recreation piece to the creative academic work that our students will have available to them. We're also going to be expanding our collaborations with community partners so that they can bring more theme-based and creative programming to our students. And this year, credit retrieval will be offered at all of our high schools. Usually credit retrieval was a centralized program. We could only manage X number of students. This year, we want to make availability of credit retrieval, which means students who need to make up a credit or two in order to move on to the next grade, or particularly to graduate, that offerings, we would have a wider availability of offerings. So we'll be meeting with our community collaborators tomorrow just to share what our Summer of Fun 2021 would look like and to get their engagement. We're going to survey our parents about their summer preferences and gain an understanding of what our parents' current needs are. We're going to host summer programs and family resource virtual fair. This will be a virtual fair so parents can see what's available and talk to providers. We're going to launch Summer of Fun July 1st. The program ends around July 31st. We're going to launch a Summer of Fun fitness challenge to motivate us, all of us, to get out there. And we're going to challenge our communities to share their own fitness challenge. We'd love for all to join us in this challenge. And the question is, who's in? Who's in? Share your challenge and let's all help our community to get out there. We've been locked up and locked down and lazy in that, it's been hard to move. And so we want to lead our communities in moving. And finally, we are working on our back to school rally, which will happen in August. And with that, we want to sort of wrap up the summer, but commence the new year with a summer fun fitness walk in August, and more to come on that. We appreciate your time and your invitation to us today. And we are here for your consultation and to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
And Gemma, I challenge every alderman on this call to a fast walk on that track. So if anybody wants to take up that offer, I will be there in my sneakers for a fast walk. I didn't say run, fast walk.
And remember, once you sign up for the challenge, and you have to agree to share your pics or your 30-second video on our website. So we want everybody going. We want to get everybody moving with our NHBS fitness challenge. Thank you.
Oh, Brian, are you Brian? Are you in? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, brother.
I never turn away a real good challenge for our people. Absolutely. My hand is raised for the challenge.
Alder Wingate.
We've got note of that.
Kim, are you sitting there on your hands? Madam Chair, are you sitting on your hands? Okay, no, dude. Okay.
I didn't want to speak out of order, but I'm down for the challenge.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
I challenge my Youth and Education Committee members.
Put me down.
As
Put me
everyone has
down.
said already.
We're going to be sending
I'm
out, Danny Diaz is going to be sending out the registration for our families and for our community and for our elders to join the challenge and to really lead. This is an opportunity for us to lead in an area that we know is super important to our students.
Right.
Well-being. We are coordinating with our athletics department. So to have the alders step up and for you all to say, yes, we're in for the challenge, we're excited to hear that. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Alders Subdean. I see you.
Yeah. I'm just showing my face so they see my game face. Go ahead.
And don't let Kermit intimidate you. Your fitness challenge can be whatever you want your fitness challenge to be.
Madam Chair, may I? Madam Chair, may I give him the ice grill face back, Madam Chair? Let him know that I'm ready for the challenge. Can I give him the... Madam Chair, can I give him the...
Yes, we're all ready for the challenge.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'll ask that, if I may, ask Gemma to give that information over to Al Lucas so we all can have it for the full board can get it.
Fantastic. And we will get that to you. Thank you.
My brother Sergio.
Thank you, Alder Wingate.
To the committee, thank you for that lovely presentation, everyone from that team. Anyone from any of the committee, either committees would like to ask any questions at this time?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment if I can.
Go ahead, Alder.
Thank you.
Rodriguez.
First and foremost, to hear that everybody was on the doors and checking on our families is extraordinary. In such a time that has been challenged by this pandemic, by the many things that we are seeing in our city. And so, you know, you guys need applause. And I truly mean that. I think that our youth has a great team behind them at this most vulnerable time. And, you know, I was on a call about a year ago, and I heard Danny Diaz and definitely reaching out as well. And it's very dear to my heart to a lot of the folks that are non-English speaking, undocumented, that have a huge fear of coming out and saying, I need help. And a lot of that has to do with them feeling that any one of us on this screen would be calling ICE. And so, you know, that is a very big challenge and a very mental health issue as well, because there's such a fear with that. I see it because I work in a clinic. I'm very connected with the...
You muted.
Madam Chair, did you mute me? No. So, you know, we're very, like I said, we're very grateful. Again, I work at a clinic and I know we see a lot of the kids from the schools that are behind on physicals. Danny, you and I will connect on that again so I can send you the information. I wanted to also really quickly mention that if we have a lot of families, because we are getting the emails, in regards to the parents having an issue with their UI bills and gas bills, there is that moratorium still, so that we can reach out to the families and let them know that there's that 24-month and they will be helped with that. You know, so that they, and our undocumented population, if they have children that are on Husky, they are able to apply for all that. So, you know, I just want to thank you all for everything that you said. And I am too jumping on the challenge. And
Yes.
you know, you got to watch out for the females on the board.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So be ready for you. We're coming for you.
I love it.
For everything you do. We're going to make this Board of Alder challenge against the Board of Ed.
Ooh.
Get good now.
Ooh, I like that.
Everything you've done, it's just amazing. Thank you all.
Thank you. And big shout out, and I just want to say, I know Danny has said it numerous times already, but big shout out to Sergio Rodriguez. I mean, Sergio defies the odds. He walks around like he's 25 years old, knocking on doors. You know what I mean? And Danny and all of us, we have to remind him he's not 25 anymore. You know, you're only 50 now, Serge. So, but you know,
yeah, I turned 71 a week ago.
But good work though, anyway.
God bless you. And I didn't mean any intentions to figure about you.
Oh no, I know, Carmen.
Danny, trust me, Danny talks about him all the time.
We've worked together getting food out.
That's it. Thank you all.
I just want to say thank you to the team. This pandemic, Madam Chair, may I have my hand raised? Okay. I just want to say thank you as well with the great jobs that everyone's been doing. When I say this Corona has touched everyone's lives in so many different ways, personally, has touched me. You know, I can't imagine having young kids right now, going through this whole process. You know, like, you know, grandparents having Corona and they trying to fend for themselves and stuff like that. So, you know, my thing is, you know, I hope and I pray that we be able to reverse the absentee part of this thing, that, you know, that we can filter some kind of way to get people back in classrooms and understanding that they need that. I pray about that, but I just want to say thank y'all for every component of what y'all been doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Vice Chair Kimberly Edwards.
Thank you very much. I just had a kind of a comment and a general question. For example, when you did the I call it the back to school because we've been out of school, but we've been in school virtually. You did events and you came to Celentano School, for example, you gave out some goodies. How do we make sure we're in the loop with those events and not hearing about them last minute? Can you forward that kind of information to us and let us know what kind of help we can be? For instance, I enjoyed it, even though I was supposed to be doing a little run through. You know, I'm sorry if I messed your team up, Ms. Lumpkin, but I'm directing traffic. I'm like, you got my line messed up. Let's keep it flowing. That's my thing. I try to be hands-on as a committee member and just as a community member. So if you could make sure you're, you know, letting us know with things like that or events, anything we can help with. And even if it's not a violation of privacy and different things like that with some of these knocks, let us know in advance. We can get the information put out. We may have some people that are able to help. So I would appreciate that kind of information because we, as a committee with youth and education, we try to be hands-on to the best of our ability. But it's hard for us when we don't know about the events in advance. So that was my comment.
Thank you, Alder Edwards. And I want to thank you publicly for showing up at our back to in-school rally when our 4th to 8th grade students, to welcome them back. And we were handing out those bags to encourage families to come back. This was part of us recognizing how hard it has been for families to shop. There was no back to school sales in September and October and August as they normally are. And so we thank you you must have found out about it from Facebook or however, our team hustled to everybody on this call. We're hustling to try to get at least 200 or 300 backpacks to families. And I think we ended up giving out 900. We kept going back because cars were lined up around the corner. We opened up at 11 o'clock and by 10:30, we must have had 150 cars lined up. Each of those families looking for 2 or 3 bags. So it was a great day, and we did have to close down. We're not going to have that problem this year. The district is committed to making sure that we do well by all of our students who may need those bags, who may need those backpacks with supplies, and that's going to be part of our plan for our back to school rally this year. And we will definitely make sure that this team is invited and be a part of it. And thank you for offering.
Yeah, and we weren't surprised by you taking charge, co-chair Edwards. You're senior DNA. You know, don't forget you're Alfreda's daughter. We understand that she's always take charge, so we know it's in your DNA.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of the process, even though, you know, it just happened. And then my next question is probably along the same lines. Partnership. We want to be true partners. We don't just want to call you here to say, talk about this, talk about that. What can we do, or is there anything we can do to help move things along, to help with programming? And like, how do we be a true liaison, not just budget time or not this and trying to help fight? Like, how can we truly connect? I don't know if you have the answer today or if it's something that we really need to put thought into for our committees to really be supportive and to be true partners.
Yeah, I mean, we have some mechanisms for that to happen. We are in the process right now, and Danny and Kermit are leading an effort to engage parents on a big parent fair. And what we're trying to do with that, in that effort, is to engage community partners as part of the development, not to say, hey, this is what we're doing. And so I am sure Danny's taking notes right now that we will invite you to be a part of our committees. As every event that we plan, we know now, and thank you for verbalizing, that we will offer to you to join us for our back to school planning, to join us for as we start to roll out our challenge, to join you to partner with us on our fitness challenge, to partner with us on our parent fair and the programs that we plan citywide. We would be delighted and excited to have you join those efforts. Thank you for offering. We appreciate that.
And I have no further questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I see Alder Sabin has a question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I wanted to echo what my colleagues have said. You know, a lot of folks have been hurting in our city over the last year, and the school district has been a lifeline, and the programs we've talked about tonight have been just incredibly important. So thank you for all the work that you've done. I had a question, just going back to the chronic absenteeism that we were talking about. I was wondering if over the course of the past year, you've made any significant changes or shifts in the strategy to try to address the issue, and whether you've felt like some approaches or strategies have worked better than others.
Yes, we have had to do more community partnerships than we've ever had to do before. We linked up with Clifford Beers, became a key partner for us around care coordination, because what we found is that the issues were so complex that families were facing. It wasn't just a matter of attendance education, which has been our traditional, we want to let parents know how important it is for their 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds to be in school because it impacts their reading. With the pandemic, it was about helping a family figure out how to deal with a sick elderly person, as well as trying to teach their kids from home, as well as medical issues, groceries, electric, utility bills. So we were forced to reach deeper into our community and invite care coordination into our work, which we had not done previously. So that was a big lesson for us. Also, on the homeless side, we would have families come to our office and to service, and from right there, we would have 5, 6, 10 families lined up for coats and socks and shoes or whatever they need. And we realized that we had to, again, push those services out to community partners and guide our team, our parents to utilize our community partners. Danny could talk a little bit more of that. And then certainly to have someone like Sergio delivering food to the families, emergency food supports, until we can get those families linked up to the pantries and the
And the food
other
pantry we
support
started.
services. What somebody would say is, oh, there are services in the community, which there are. And the United Way and other community partners have been doing a fantastic job with the city. But when we get that call that there's a need for food and it's Saturday evening at 7 o'clock, and I send that text out to Danny, and it's all hands on deck, literally, as a school system hustling to make sure that we support that family that has 13 members tested COVID. We had one Saturday afternoon, and I gotta tell you, I was sitting in an event, my family, with my children, and I got a text that said, we have 8 members of this family, 8 children and adults who tested positive, and they have nothing. And when I said nothing, they did not have masks, they did not have sanitizers, they needed intensive support. And I sent a text out to the team, and in less than an hour, groceries were being delivered, pizzas were being delivered, masks, hand sanitizers, and everything else we can to get them to Monday so that they could receive, systemic services. So
Yeah,
those are the big changes that we have never had to do in the time that I've been doing this work for the last 10 years.
yeah, we had to, and in the case of the homeless families, it was more keeping up because, as you know, people become homeless for many, many reasons, right? And so we have families that are staying in hotels. We have families that were actually sending their kids to other towns because, mom had to work and she was very concerned, or she still is, that her child might get COVID. So because of that, we have a lot of grandparents that are raising their grandchildren, or their children were working. As you know, in our communities, we're doing the job. We're working in the restaurant. We're doing the deliveries. And because of that, we really had to change the way we did a lot of the work that we do to adapt to those changes in the structure of how families worked. You cannot ask a grandparent that is in need to leave the house to go and get a computer for their children at school. We had to deliver that because the grandparent is scared that they might get COVID. And as the month went by, then we started looking into the absenteeism, like you asked. We started calling families and let them know, why are your child not connecting? Sometimes we found out that the child was connecting, but in the case of high schools, they will be connecting to one class, but not to the other. So we had to ask those questions to really help and get those numbers down, knowingly that in the case of many high school students, they needed to help their families. So they went back to work, like Kermit said. So it was just, this past year has really unveiled the inequities in our communities, but also it has shown that we have a great city, and that when we're called to action, that we really stepped up to the plate. And I'm extremely proud of all the support that we've gotten. And it's not just provided a family with food, but it's also establishing a process so that on Monday, when that family, they knew that they could go to Hope House or Christian Community or call another agency for support to get a home. Every time there is a fire, we get called. Rick Fontana is amazing. They call us. We have a family. They call everybody, but we also are called to make sure that we do an intake and we provide services. So when you have a city that works like that, it's just something to be proud of. I'm just very, very happy that we have been able to reach out to everybody, and everybody has said yes and helped us.
And Danny, I'll just add this very, very briefly and quickly. I think that the other piece of this that the pandemic brought out was, and I think it's something that Alder Rodriguez kind of alluded to, is that we had families who were not trusting. They were concerned about who was knocking on the door, what kind of consequences would come as a result of that. And I give Gemma credit for the kind of staff that she has assembled and people she's assembled around in our department, because all of the people in our department, many of them have deep relationships in the community. And we really relied on those relationships. I mean, there was Danny calling someone in Fairhaven to say, listen, we have some things, we need to find these families who are not opening doors. If we were Newhallville, wherever we were, we were trying to track down these families to make sure that they knew we were around and we had things that could help them and their family. So I want to say kudos to everyone. I think the relationships are big. And certainly I'm excited to hear, Alder Edwards talk about the partnership for the future. I really look forward to that. So thank you.
Thank you for all of that. And as Danny said, you do all have a lot to be proud of. So thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Alder Steve Winter, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The breadth and depth of the work that was done is really impressive. I was wondering if there are some numbers you all could share about the number of doors knocked, number of folks out canvassing, number of families reached. Is any of that data?
Yes. And we I don't have the actual details, but I know we've reached at least 5,000 families. It's a little bit more than that. We've had over 50 community volunteers join us, but our staff, everyone on the staff others at schools, principals and teachers and others have been all in on getting out and connecting with those families. I would say we've reached at least 5,000 families. And when you see those numbers, and this Connecticut State Department of Education has recognized us going from 44% to that 30% that we see, that's, we're not excited that we're still at 1 in 3 kids chronically absent, but we're excited that we moved in the right direction based on our intensive outreach to our families. But our families
very
are still.
You want to talk? We were very intentional too, right? About who. This isn't just fluff kids. These are families who really need it. We were very intentional.
Yeah, we're talking about mattresses in the living room floor. That's the intensity of what these families are up against. And it is hard for a single mom, and Kermit will remember that mom in the Hill, to deal with getting, handling the kindergarten student, getting him online and dealing with a 12-month baby, right? These are the kinds of real struggles that families share.
And the school being across town.
That we see ourselves. And we say we put on our PPs and our masks. And we initially said, okay, we're not going into homes. We will just stand outside the front porch. We realized very quickly we had to triple PPE up and go into those homes and stand in the kitchen and stand in the living room, or sit if they offer for us to sit down if they want to talk and hear their stories. So, by the end of it, we were inside because families couldn't talk to us in hallways. They couldn't talk to us on front porches. And as Kermit said, and as Danny said, we had to build trust because families weren't telling us what was going on. They were afraid that we were going to deal with them in some negative way, legally, called DCF and harm them and separate them from their children. Those are real fears out there. We deal with families who have to travel back for whatever reasons. And, we really shouldn't judge families that have to travel back to their home countries for a number of reasons. And we still work to help those families connect remotely. We try to educate them on understanding if it's necessary for that family to go back to Afghanistan during this time. But when it is clear to us that it is necessary, our job is to still support that family through that time that they are away. So it's a long way of saying, Alder Winter, that yes, we have numbers, but I always want to put up front the complexities of the issues that we confront when we go out there.
And just to add to that, this is not just talking about one specific neighborhood in New Haven. We work from, the neighborhood that I lived in, in Morris Cove, all the way to Davis Street, all the way to Brookside. This is families from all over New Haven. Nobody was immune to COVID, and nobody is immune to what has come out of it. So this has affected each and every member and each and every of your constituents and those of the other older people that are, in the city of New Haven. So, and nobody can say my neighborhood was not affected. I didn't have a family in my neighborhood that did not become homeless. I don't have a family in my neighborhood that did not get COVID. This is happened all over our city. We deliver food, we deliver services to all of our neighborhoods. And some students who are inter-district as well, we have to go and deliver some services.
Right.
So they are our students. We deliver all the way to Meriden, and I think as far as Waterbury, because they're our students.
May I also add something? Older Winter asked for numbers. When Gemma said, when all the pandemic started, how could we reach the families? Because she said, how could we reach these families? We need to help these families. YFCA created the call line, the family call line. We have over 800 calls on that call line. Those calls, when we say call line, it doesn't mean that the families call and they never get a call back. We have staff that receive the calls, they listen to the phone calls, and they contact those families within 24 hours. They have sat with the families to help them with assistance with whatever it may be, whether it's utilities, Chromebooks, homework, whatever the need it would be, and whatever time it would take for them to sit and converse and figure out and support that family, what they would do it. And we have continued, it has not stopped. That is still open, the families still call, and we still service them. We still give them the support that they need. So, these numbers will continue on growing. We continue on building more relationships with our families because we know and we see the need. We know that they need us, they need our support. So in numbers, we have over 800 with the family call line. With the homework hotline, we have over, 600? We have over 600 students participating right now. That it was also created because they weren't at school, they were having a hard time doing homework, they needed assistance, and that was why it was also created. Gemma said we needed help, these students need help, what could we do? And her team, with her leadership, we came and we did what had to be done for these families, because these are our families. This is our community, regardless of where we live, these are our families.
Thank you all. No, it sounds like you're dealing with the full range of issues that one could encounter. Are there numbers on the devices or the hotspots? I know that in the Chromebooks that were distributed, I know that was one of the big challenges and big focuses when the committee last met with you all, was getting kids connected and onto devices when they were not available or accessible.
Dan, you want to report on that? I can give a high level report.
Yeah, so yeah, at the beginning, that was the big problem, that students connecting for one reason or the other. But at the last survey that was done, the connectivity is not a problem. Of course, we all have some sort of problem every once in a while with connecting because of the level of connection that the person might have. However, overall, all students have their Chromebooks or tablets or laptops. Uh, they bring them to school. The ones that are going to school on a hybrid model, but every child has them. We also, the Wi-Fi, we have established, thanks to the help with the City of New Haven, the hotspot on the buildings that we have that project Wi-Fi outside. We also have the Sprint. We have the portable ones from, which we still have some of them, the Kajits, to connect for students. We have the program with Comcast, which was a free program until December 31st of this year. So a connection doesn't seem to be the biggest problem. I think that what's happening is, with the student, is that we need to continue. We have to remember students have been out for over a year already. And if you really look at it into school year, it's 1 year and 3 months of 2 different school years. So, but yeah, connectivity doesn't seem to the problem anymore. I think it's more social. Students do need to get adaptability, like those students who go into the 9th grade, like Kermit said, from 8th grade. We also have the students that went into kindergarten for the first time. They had not been into a classroom. So there are other things that have come out of COVID, but the connectivity and the computers, we're pretty proud as a district that every student at this point should have them.
And I'd like to add something. I think, and Danny just raised that. I think the big thing, Jim actually talked about it with the parent whose home we went to visit in the Hill. What we've learned is the distance that many of our parents have to travel, some of them to get from, under our new format. There's some families who, that family was her child was attending school at Wexler School, was attending Wexler School, but living on Howard Avenue. So you can imagine during winter months how difficult that was to get from Howard Avenue to Wexler School on Dixwell Avenue. So, right now we're hoping that with this hybrid model that we have with the warm weather, obviously, attendance will improve, but obviously we're still working to try to address that issue, because as it gets colder, the winter months come and it gets colder, that becomes a challenge again for us. So we're obviously trying to figure out how to fix that. I know Gemma has been in constant communication with the executive team, talking about ways that we can address that issue. So, we'll see what happens.
And the surveys, were those distributed electronically? Like, would someone have needed internet access in order to fill them out, or how are they distributed?
All the service that we do in New Haven, we send them through. I'm sure many of you have heard my voice and maybe are tired of hearing my voice, but this is the way we now communicate, because it's the best way to communicate with our families. So that's one of the things, and I should have mentioned that earlier on. When we have a system called Parent Link, when we went into the closure, which was a year and a month ago, we actually contacted Blackboard and we told them we need to change a lot of these things. We need to get more services from Blackboard. One of the things that we changed was that now we can send messages in 60 languages. Those who used to receive messages from us, they will realize that I will do a message in English, then in Spanish. We don't do that anymore, because it goes individually to those parents who have selected their preferred language. And so one of the things that we did was that when we send the surveys get sent via a parent link, which is my voice telling parents there is a survey going out to you, either on an email or via a telephone, a text, as well as we put it on our website, and we also give them access through our Facebook. We have noticed that parents respond the most to our telephone text. And overall, over 90% of our parents receive the message in one way or the other. So we're really proud of that. One thing that we did at the beginning of the pandemic was that we really um, talked to the families and sent them messages and told them to please make sure that they updated their email, their phone number in their power schools with our district and at their schools, because that was going to be the way that all the information was going to go out. No longer were we sending flyers, because the flyers usually went out with the kids in their backpack, right? So the other thing that we did is at the beginning of the school year, the superintendent gave us the task of orientation. As you know, every year we do orientation. So what we did was that the orientation was also done online. And to my surprise, over 60% of the parents did the orientation online, which is amazing, because we had, it was the first time. And now this year, we're adding another component to the orientation, which so that hopefully, my goal is by 2025 that all the orientation could be, everybody will be online. So yes, the surveys, just to answer that question, yes, it was done and it was sent in many different forms to all the students. And that's why we have the results of our survey were, the percentages were amazing. A marketer will pay us because we can reach so many people with a touch of a button and get response from them.
That's incredible. 60 languages is really something.
Yeah.
Is this is all this infrastructure you all have set up going to be, or maybe already is, a part of the outreach for vaccinations as we look to, the 16 to 18 age group?
So yes, so actually, I work a lot with the Fairhaven Clinic, and they send me a lot of information. I'm always sent. Today, as a matter of fact, I sent a message that there's going to be a walking at Hill Regional Career. I sent it to all of our parents in an email, in all those different formats. So as information comes on vaccination, on information for our neighborhoods to get vaccinated, as information in the past actually went out about wearing masks, about wearing, at that one point, washing your hands, all of that thing. We actually always send that information out. We do what is called, I send information to the parents, and then I tell them, always look at our website. So, you have a captive audience of 20,000 students, which add up to approximately 16,000 families. So, this system is just amazing, but we also have to make sure that the system was purchased so that we can inform parents of what's happening in the district. So we try to be very careful on how the messaging gets sent, because as I said, parents get tired of listening to so many voice messages. So that's why we found out that the best way to do it, as long as it gets approved by the superintendent and also by Gemma, that, we send those messages. But during time of COVID, it's been an amazing way to inform parents. And as we start doing the vaccination for 16 years or older, we're waiting. Actually, I had a lot of parents who call me today asking me, when are they going to start to get the information about getting their kids vaccinated? So the minute we get that information, we want to get it out to the parents. And once again, it gets sent out. And even though we have the 60 languages, we only have approximately 5 languages, which are the most common, which is English, Spanish, Mandarin, Mandarin, Arabic, and also Pashto. Those are the 5 main languages that we send it in. But every meeting that we have with our families, and we've had amazing success. We just had 2 weeks ago over 500 families in one of our meetings that Ms. Joseph Lumpkin set up. And those meetings also, we provide a translator at the meeting in Pashto, Arabic, and Spanish. Like I said, those are the 5 main languages. The other languages are there to use, but we don't use them because there's no, we don't have students that speak those languages.
Thanks. Yes, your voice is legendary, but we don't want folks to get fatigued with too many messages. Thank you so much to everyone for all your hard work. Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging all these questions.
But let me tell you, just the message on snow day, let me tell you, that was legendary. I got calls from everybody. Snow day, this is amazing. So it was a good day for me.
Call UI. His message is on UI.
Any other further comments or questions from the committee? I want to thank again this team tonight. It was so lovely hearing about all these programs. I know you've been working so hard. You should be all so proud. I do work in the classroom daily and I see the effects that you're doing on these families. And it's heartwarming that I gave a jacket to a little girl whose jacket had ripped. She was so happy that I gave her a jacket that matched her purse and her favorite color. So the little things mean so much to these families daily. The backpacks that were given out, someone's been donating chalk, the kids are writing messages, positive messages all over the neighborhood, the kindness rocks to their teachers. It's amazing. So thank you again. I'm looking forward to my fast walk this summer. And I think we're gonna beat you guys, but that'll be part of our partnership. Thank you again for everything that you do. Anything further, Alder Kim Edwards?
Nothing further from me. It was great. Thank you all. Thank you for all the information, as Alder Ortiz stated. We just look forward to collaborating with you much more and just making sure we're communicating openly so we can truly partner up. And of course, we're going to beat you guys at the walk. That's what we do. But we'll still be nice to you after. So that's how we roll. And other than that, we will be in touch. We will definitely be in touch and we will have you back.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we did a great workshop and we didn't officially adjourn our meeting, but we can adjourn it.
I second.
Is there a motion to adjourn our meeting or our workshop?
So moved.
Second, so moved.
Second.